So today's recipe is what I consider, we're just going for broke here. This is not the recipe to think about calories or guilt or how long you're gonna have to run. You are just going to put your head down, you're gonna enjoy it, and everything else is going to be a tomorrow problem. So let's make them. So to start off, we need the brownie layers. So I already baked my brownies in a 9 by 13 inch pan. You have some options here. Of course, personally, I want to eat these things, so I made gluten-free brownies, and I have the recipe to my homemade gluten-free brownies below. You could check that out. You can use a box mix, you could use whatever favorite homemade brownie recipe you'd like. If you don't want to be tempted by eating this entire pan, you can even half the recipe and do this in an 8 by 8 inch pan as well. So I would just recommend bake your brownies, cool them completely before you begin with the toppings. All right, our brownies are our first level of goodness. Our second level of goodness is a turtle topping. So for that, we need a bag of caramels that are unwrapped. I use Kraft brand just because I feel like they melt a little smoother. So these are already unwrapped because I didn't think you wanted to watch me unwrap a whole bag of caramels. So we're gonna pour those in the bowl. You can do this on the stove. I just do it in the microwave. So if you're doing it in the microwave, use a microwave safe bowl. And then 2 tablespoons of milk. Add that in, and then we're just gonna pop this in the microwave for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, stirring about every 30 to 45 seconds. So when you are microwaving the caramels, I recommend don't heat it all the way till when it's completely melted. I like to do it until they're about 80 to 90% melted, and then just stir everything together until it gets nice and smooth. If you microwave it to the point where everything's completely soft and melted, then you risk overheating your caramel, and then you'll have like that real hard, chewy, not goodness on your brownies. Once everything's nice and smooth, we are going to add 1.5 cups of chopped pecans to that. If you want to go the extra mile, you could even toast those first. Another good option here would be to add like maybe 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. So you could do a salted caramel topping. Remember, this is the recipe we're just going for broke for. So anything that you think, just do it. You have my permission. So this part you want to do immediately because this caramel hardens pretty quick. So take the warm caramel and then just kind of dollop it on all over your brownies in little sections. Okay, to spread this out. So you could use a silicone spoon and just kind of spread it as much as you can. Don't go like OCD crazy here. It doesn't matter if the brownies are showing through a little bit, that's fine. We're just gonna do it as much as we can, spread it out as much as we can. The other thing you can do is use I just have a sheet of wax paper that I put some nonstick cooking spray on, and you can kind of use that to spread this around. As it sticks, just spray the paper more. Okay, you ready for this? Brownies. Turtle, peanut butter on top of that. For this, we need 3/4 cup of creamy peanut butter. Just use like the old school stuff here. I'm using Skippy peanut butter, but Jif works. Just, you know, what you grew up on. The creamy, good, spready stuff. And then 6 tablespoons of softened butter, 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and then about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of milk. After we beat this together, we might add a smidge more just to see how spreadable it is. So then just take a hand mixer and then beat that. It's gonna come into a thick topping. Oh my gosh. The smell of this, I just wanna like jump in this bowl right now. It smells so good. All right, so you have a nice thick peanut butter layer that we're gonna spread on top of the caramel. Let's bring back the brownies. Okay, same thing for this. We're just gonna kinda dollop it on all over the caramel. This isn't as tricky to spread. I wanna lick my fingers so bad right now. Okay, and then we just kind of spread that around. Spreads pretty easy. If your peanut butter mixture isn't spreadable like this, then I would suggest before trying to transfer it to the brownies, just add a little bit more milk to it. I am a sucker for anything peanut butter. I mean, peanut butter, sign me up. Is there something that if it's on a dessert, you're just like, I'm gonna eat it? Let me know in the comments below. All right, we gotta top it off with the last layer of goodness, chocolate. So we need a cup of chocolate chips. I'm using dark chocolate chips, but you can use milk chocolate, you can use semi-sweet. Put it in another microwave safe bowl. And then to this, I'm just going to add 1.5 teaspoons of oil. And the reason I do this is because when you melt it, you want it nice and soft and spreadable. So you can use any oil. I'm just using vegetable oil, but coconut oil works too. Then we're just gonna microwave this again for about 30 seconds to a minute until it's nice and smooth. For the chocolate, it's kind of the same thing as the caramel. You don't want to melt it to the point where it's completely all the way melted. I melt my chocolate about 85% of the way, and then just continue to stir it until it's completely melted. You don't want to overheat your chocolate, or once it cools, it'll do this thing called blooming, which it just means it makes these little white spots on the chocolate. It doesn't affect how it tastes, it just doesn't look as pretty. Once the chocolate's nice and melted, then we're just going to drizzle this over the top. If you want, you could use your spoon, or I like to use an offset spatula to just spread it around evenly. So you could just stop here, but I'm not. I'm going to add a little bit of flaky sea salt to this. I like using Malden brand just because it doesn't melt into the chocolate, so it'll stay on there. The other option, you can just leave it as is, or you can do chopped peanuts or some more chopped pecans on top too. So this is a recipe that you are definitely gonna wanna share. These are a great party food. This is great for game day or tailgating, cookouts. I would cut these into smaller pieces just because they're so rich. And then if you have leftovers, which good luck, but if you do, I wrap them up and freeze them because a lot of time I do not want to be tempted by these for days on end. So I will make them, I will enjoy the crap out of them, and then I will wrap up the remaining ones and then freeze them and just thaw them at room temperature. It is the recipe that you will be asked to make again and again if you share these with people. So you can find the full printable recipe right below. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.